Chapter 13. Stumbling through the dark now, his eyes adjusted to the moon's glow. A waxing gibbous, it hung low in the sky, a swollen bulb of light casting its pale glow across the ground. He came into a clearing and had hoped that he was actually heading in the right direction. He spotted headlights, and the whir of the vehicle steadily began to climb. He hunkered down and estimated that he was about an eighth to a quarter of a mile from State Road 146. Unable to tell the make and model of the vehicle, he stayed on a knee until he was no longer in their field of view. As the air began to chill down to below freezing, Jimmy realized how wet he was. Although there was little he could do about his pants, Jimmy removed his hat, unzipped his jacket, and began removing his layers. After being bare-chested, he used his undershirt to mop up as much wetness from his forehead, chest, back, and armpits as he could. He stuffed that shirt into his bag, ruffled his fingers through his hair, and redressed with his overshirt and heavy jacket. At that point, it was too late to be effective and did little more than make him colder by exposing his bare skin to the bitterly cold air. Jimmy guessed that the temperature may have been somewhere in the 20s. His entire lower body was especially cold as his pants began to freeze from the constant sitting, kneeling, and kicking up of snow. More so to keep warm than for speed, Jimmy began to slowly jog in the direction of the highway and head back towards the old farmhouse. Nearly shivering, he crossed the road and entered into another tactical crouch to lower his silhouette. Slowly making his way through the empty field that separated him from his quarry, he was finally able to see the outbuildings and house glowing in the moonlight. Everything was once again dark on the property, deceiving the fact that someone was in the house. Reaching the edge of the yard that separated the property from the field, Jimmy became keenly aware of his steps. The crunch of the snow was unavoidable, but he measured every footfall to minimize the sound. He gripped the rifle that had been hanging freely since he left the wood line and slowly moved his way along the back of the buildings. Coming to the edge of the last building, he peeked around the corner and continued to move in a straight line towards the ATV. As he turned the corner, he finally spotted his four-wheeler. The bicycle was missing, but everything else seemed to be intact. He circled the vehicle, checking to make sure that the tires were good to go. Flinging the rifle to his back, he retrieved the key from the side pocket of the backpack and climbed on top. He inserted the key, turned it to the on position, and put the ATV into neutral. Jimmy looked up to the stars, said a quick prayer, and prepared to engage the push start. A light suddenly appeared in the upstairs window. It bounced around, convincing Jimmy that it was likely a flashlight instead of a room light, but he didn't take the time to worry. He pushed the button, and the ATV fired to life, growling away the silence. Jimmy kicked it into first gear and slowly started to accelerate and turn. Second gear, and he turned again, using the outbuildings as cover. The snow was slowing his escape as the wheels struggled to grip on the refreezing snow. But Jimmy drove the quad bike expertly into the field and along the wood line. He went about halfway down the field before he began to cross it at an angle. The moonlight helped guide his way, and Jimmy was able to keep the headlights off. After reaching his old country road, he looked back for the first time and noticed nothing unusual or anyone following him. The drive home was uneventful. Finally pulling into his own driveway, Jimmy turned on the headlights, more for Jessica's benefit than his own. He hopped off, opened the barn door, and parked the ATV. After locking the door, he trudged back through the snow to the house, shivering almost uncontrollably. Jessica met him and came running into his arms, but stopped short. "Jimmy, what happened to you? You look like you've seen ghosts and you're shivering to death. Is that blood on your coat?" Jimmy looked himself over, then looked up, trying to control the shakes. "Yeah, I guess it is," he stammered. "It's been a long day." He unslung and dropped the rifle and backpack in one motion and tried in vain to unzip his coat with his shaking, numb hands. Jessica helped him get his clothes and boots off and ordered each of the capable kids to get different pieces of clothing as she put Jimmy in the rocking chair in front of their wood stove. Let me get you some hot chocolate. What else do you need? I just want you to sit with me in silence, Jimmy choked out. I need to get warm. She rubbed his head lovingly with a look of deep concern before disappearing into the kitchen. Jimmy sat deliriously, staring at the flames licking the oak and hickory chunks. After finishing his cup of cocoa, Jessica helped him to the shower. Jimmy had recovered to the point where he could make it himself, but to be in her arms again after all he had been through was worth the sign of weakness he felt it showed. She sat with him as he soaked up the warm water for everything it was worth. He had started sharing what had happened, recounting every mistake and poor decision. But there was a knock at the bathroom door. "What?" Jessica asked loudly. "It's Ethan. He won't stop crying," Chloe said, barging into the bathroom with her 9-month-old brother in tow. "All right, thanks. I'll take care of him." Jimmy, already grumpy from the long day, demanded, "We can talk about this in a few minutes. Just let me finish up here and I'll be out." He knew that he had probably hurt Jessica's feelings, but he didn't care in that moment. After putting on his favorite Notre Dame football sweatshirt and his Fighting Irish lounge pants, he surprised Jessica with a kiss and promptly apologized for his short temper. She smiled at him as he reassumed his position in the rocking chair, and he began to recount his story where he left off. "Town is shut off. I don't think we can go back until whatever is going on is over. These people don't have the flu, Jess. They acted like zombies," she finished for him. "Zombies are impossible. These people weren't the Walking Dead. They hadn't risen from the grave. They were very much alive. But they were crazy. I don't know how to put it into words, but they weren't zombies," he continued, mimicking their actions the best he could with a sore, bruised body as he recounted the hospital and the superstore stories. He talked and told stories while she interrupted him for important details. "Who do you think chased you? Were they infected?" "I don't think so. They probably thought I killed a cop for a car or something. I don't even know if they chased me at all, but they mentioned something about shooting someone, so I ran." After he had finished the story, he reassured Jessica that they would be fine and that this would all blow over shortly, though he had a strong feeling that it wouldn't.